Hi, my name is Ross Satchell, and this is my CSE335 mobile app development Phase 3 submission for the final project. So this app was designed to find in-season fruit and vegetables and locate nearby farmers markets based on the user's location. This app also allows the user to change the stock photo of fruits and vegetables to something that more matches that particular fruit or vegetable. So here is the storyboard of the app. You can see the initial view controller, labeled view controller, is embedded in a navigation controller, which greatly assists the user in navigating back and forth throughout the app. The view controller then has a segue to Foods view controller, which is triggered when the user clicks on the Use My Location button. The Foods view controller then has a button labeled Find Local Farmers Markets, and also has a table view that lists local foods that are in season. If the user clicks on the Find Local Farmers Markets button, it then takes the user to the Maps view controller, and if the user clicks on one of the table view rows, it then takes the user to the Photo view controller, which has an image of that food and allows the user to change the image of the food. So here is the initial view controller. So we can see the user starts at the screen with an image of fresh fruit and vegetables. There is a Use My Location button. Now we use reverse geocoder to get the place mark of the user's location. A CL location object is created and passed on to the next view controller, which is the Foods view controller. The location data is passed through the Foods view controller through a segue. So here is the code used in the triggering the Use My Location button. We can see we create a CL geocoder object called geocoder. We then call function reverse geocode location on that object, and we get the place mark, and from that place mark we can get the location name, the street name, the city name, zip code, state and country. So the Foods view controller view, so the current month is retrieved from the operating system itself. From the month, we then calculate what the current season is and the next season is. So in the case of April, the current season is spring and the next season is summer. And these are used when we pass the HTML object. So I originally was using a seasonalfoods.org page to pass to get the HTML. However, I had a lot of problems with that, and I changed to the USDA's Seasonal Produce Guide. I used Alamofire from CocoaPods to pass the page, and I found that the Seasonal Produce Guide had this season's food with the tags H2 and UL. I then searched for what's in season now, which has a list of current in-season foods. So here's a screenshot of part of the HTML of the web page used. And we can see near the top there is a tag spring, and then we have a list of all the foods that are in season for spring, such as apples, apricots, asparagus, and so on. And then halfway down the page we can see the tag summer, and we have foods in season for summer: apples, apricots, avocados, bananas, etc. So this is how I determined what tags that I needed to search for when I was passing the HTML. So the Foods view controller, continuing on. So I used the HTML list, the current and next season, and I searched through the HTML elements until I got to the tag return to top. Initially I was just searching from the current season to the next season, but I discovered that the vegetable summer squash can potentially cause problems, as since it contains the word summer, it was being misread as the season summer, so I decided to read all of the seasons until we hit return to top to be sure that I wasn't accidentally getting or not getting the full list. So as we go through reading all of these elements, I get an index for each element and read these into an array. And we particularly pay attention to the first element of the in-season produce and the last element of the in-season produce, or the first element of the next season produce. And they're the values we're most interested in. So as said before, this was done to avoid problems with potentially not getting the full list of foods. When we get to the next season, I then get the index of that array, as I said, and then I traverse that array from the first food index to the last food index of that season and create a food object of each food, and I create a Firebase entry for each of those foods. Then from that food list, a table view is populated with the name of the food and a stock photo of a basket of fruit and vegetables. There is a button on the view controller to find nearby farmers markets. This button takes the user to the map view controller, and this passes the location data for the placemark object that was received from the first view controller, the initial view controller, onto the map view controller. Also, if the user clicks on one of the table view cell rows, it then takes the user to the photo view controller, where the user can change the photo to one taken by the camera or by one taken by the photo reel. So the map view controller, it receives the data from the foods view controller via a segue, which in turn that was passed from the initial view controller to the foods view controller via a segue. It loads the map view based on the latitude and longitude attributes of the placemark object that's passed through, as well as a preset span. Then from our location data, it does a JSON query using Alamo Fire, which is part of CocoaPods, of the USDA Farmers Market website, and then counts the number of results. Now, with the JSON object that we get back, each element that is a farmers market, the first 4 characters of that result is the distance from the current location to the farmers market. So we go through and we drop those first 4 characters. That then gives us a search term. Now, I initially after that tried doing a map search of that name. However, I found that most of the farmers markets have the term farmers market in their name. So when you do a map search, it tends to return results that are not necessarily in your area. So for example, I would find ones that were completely different cities to where I was searching. So instead, I did an MK local search using a natural language query and the name of the farmers market, and I was able to get good results with that. From the hits that I get using the MK local search, I create annotations using MK point annotation on the map with the market name. Then as the user zooms into an area, more farmers markets are shown to the user, because only a certain number of annotations can be shown in the initial zoom level, and as we zoom in, we see there's actually more results there. As I said, I found doing a local search request gave better results, as previously I was having problems getting farmers markets in different cities from doing a map search. So the photo view controller, when the user clicks on a cell in the foods table view, we get the index path of that cell, and then we segue to the photo view controller. And this has the name of the food and a stock image. The user then can select using a segmented control between getting images from the camera and using the photo reel on the device device itself. And if the photo reel is selected, the user can select a new image, and the image will then change in the photo view controller. However, I had a lot of problems getting the image to change in the table view after returning from the photo view controller. I was passing that information through an unwind segue, but I was never able to get that to work properly. So problems encountered in this project. So I originally had issues passing the HTML of the website I was originally using. That website was seasonalfoodguide.org. So I tried the USDA's Seasonal Produce Guide, and I had much better results. I had difficulty getting the image to change in the table view after passing that through an unwind segue after the user has selected an image in the photo view controller. Also, I originally used core data to keep food objects on the device, but I've experienced a lot of problems with core data during the duration of this class. I decided to use Firebase instead, and I was able to create entries on the using Firebase, but I had some problems retrieving data from Firebase. And also I was questioning the usefulness of using Firebase for this, particularly as the user is going to use data when they use Firebase, or they're going to use data when they do a JSON search or an API search. So I'm not sure if Firebase is really that much better than doing a search that you're going to do anyway. So future improvements, I would like to continue developing this app, so I think it potentially has some usefulness for people. So I would like to add turn-by-turn directions to local farmers markets from the user's current location. And I would also like to get core data working properly to save both food objects and nearby farmers markets on the device, perhaps the user's favorite farmers markets. I would like to add functionality as well, where the user selects several foods from the table view and the app then looks up recipes that use those foods in them. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Goodbye.